Hello and welcome to a cold and wet and windy day here in Perth. I'm Sue Finley from Sue Finley Designs, and today's video is going to be on how I created this wave sculpture. It's by no means perfect. I've been attempting to do these waves now for about 12 months, so ever since I'd done the very first wave with the resin, I've been attempting to try and recreate a wave, and each one is ended up in the bin because I didn't really like it, and it was not worthy of showing. This one, however, I feel is worthy of showing, although, like I say, it's not perfect and it still needs refining, but it'll definitely give you the idea for creating your own pieces, and that you can then adapt my ideas. Well, it's not just my ideas, other people have attempted it as well, but adapting the ideas to create your own piece. So just let me get in a bit closer here. So on this bit here, I've used the acrylic diamonds, which I have some on my website, not a lot, but I'll also put a link in the description of where you can buy them on Amazon. And it's just, I mean, as you can see, it's just a curve of resin with the wave going through. Now, I poured this on cellophane. Now, I've had quite a few people come back to me and tell me that their resin sticks to cellophane, and that when they've tried pouring resin on cling film or saran wrap or glad wrap or whatever you call it, that it was sticking to that also. You need to check and do testing yourself to see that the resin doesn't stick to the plastic. And the resin I use from U Resin, I don't have that issue. It comes away quite easily. I do have issues where sometimes with the cling film, where because of the creases and that it's difficult to remove, I just apply heat and take it off. Any that I can't get off because they're stuck in grooves and crevices and things, I just heat it with a heat gun so that it shrinks right back so you can't see it. So there are ways around it. The good thing with the cello wrap and the cling film and everything like that is if it does stick to the resin, because it's clear, you won't see it, so you can always trim any excess off. So you've got options to fix it if you can't then get it off. So anyway, this piece was created for my art show, which well, I'm one of 5 artists that are in an art show this weekend. So this is going to be one of the pieces that's on display there. So I'll put a link for that. If you happen to be in Perth over this weekend, come down and have a look and have a chat, because I know there's quite a lot of you that would I've got some questions and they would like me to answer them, so you're more than welcome to come down and have a chat with me there. So without further ado, let's get into how I make this resin sculpture. Okay, so I've started out with the silicone pet mat, which we've used on other previous projects. Only this time I've covered it with a cello bag, just to one, to keep the resin shiny on the backside, and two, I didn't want a hard edge around the edge, so by putting that in there, that prevents that from happening. And then all I've done here is I've tinted the resin with India ink for a translucent look, so I've used the teal and I've used blue for the darker edges. I'm just using a heat gun, we'll just zap any bubbles as we go. Now, using a stick, I'm just swirling this round slightly to just mix it up ever so slightly. Now, I use the stick here, but really I should have used my fingers, because you can get a more realistic water effect if you dabble it with your fingers, but I'll do that in the next project. I should have thought about it, but I didn't, but such is life. So all I've done here is I've just poured some of the acrylic gems onto a plastic plate and added some white resin to it, just to mix it up and make them stick together rather than just pouring the gems at the top. I'm actually going to spoon that on so that it's a lot chunkier, and making sure that each of these pieces are fully stuck to each other when it cures. So I'm just applying that to the top end of what's going to be the wave. there's no need to do any down the far ends, it's just going to be on the top end. I find that if you coat the diamonds in this manner, that you get a really nice effect, especially when you're trying to emulate water. I find that this works quite well rather than just pouring the stones on the top. You can still do that, but they'll end up a little bit flatter, so this way you get more texture happening. And then just using a stick, I'm just dragging some of the white down to just give that foamy effect at the top. So once you're happy with that, it's then time to leave it to cure. I left it for about 7 hours, but that's because it's winter here. And now that it's been curing, I can remove the silicone mat because I no longer need it. And I'm covering the top of the resin so that I can flip it, so because my tablecloth's a little bit dirty, so I've just made sure that I've got a nice clean surface by putting the cello on the back. And also because I'm rolling it onto the vase, it just makes sure that that's well protected. And so I'm just going to roll this into position and leave it to cure overnight. Now I often get asked how long to leave something curing before moving it and bending it. It all depends on the time of year, how thick your resin is, your brand of resin, whether it's warm outside, cold outside. There's all many different factors, and so what I generally do is I'll go and check on the resin after the first couple of hours, and I'll test to see how sticky it is. And I usually test the stick that I was using to mix the resin to see if it's still sticky. If it's no longer sticky and I can touch the resin without fingerprints, and now it's now good to move. But like I say, that's all going to depend on where you are, your brand of resin, and many other variables as well. So you just literally got to test it and see, and when you feel it's then ready, just give it a go. Now it's the next day and I'm now removing the cellophane. Now this is still very bendy because it's winter. If it was during the summer months, it would have been a lot harder. So I'm going to have to leave this for a lot longer. But in the meantime, I'm just going to remove the cellophane and put it back on the vase to continue curing. And the beauty of it still being winter, because it's still bendy, if you don't like how it's looking, you can still actually play with it a little bit to get the shape. And that's what I did, was I go away and play with it for a bit just to get the curve that I want from it. So you can see there that the curve's further back. I actually end up moving that further forward, so I just play around with that until I get the look that I'm looking for. If you like this video and would like to see more resin ideas, then please subscribe to my channel, or better still, go and browse my other videos. I have plenty of ideas to keep you inspired. So until next time, see you in the next video. Goodbye.